Okay, call to order, January 9th, regular council meeting. Could we get the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get going, I'd like to let everybody know there will be no executive session tonight. Lily doesn't have any information for us on the subject at hand, so we'll go by that.
Roll call, Peter Draco,
Here?
Joe Macklin,
Here.
Jerry Graham, Ray Karen,
Here.
Joseph Gravel,
Here.
Jeff West,
Here.
and Lee Trahan.
Here.
The approval of the minutes for the previous meeting, December 12th, 2022, and January 3rd, 2023.
I'll second.
Communication?
No, you have to ask for discussion.
Oh, yes. Okay, is there any discussion on the approval of minutes? Being none?
We roll call vote for that.
Yes.
Peter Draco,
Yes.
Joe Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Graham,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Communications. We have a presentation from the interim fire chief, Scott Bolduc, on interfacility transfers.
That's what.
Good evening, everyone. Members of the Winslow Town Council, Madam Town Manager. Thank you for allowing me to make this presentation on interfacility transfers. First and foremost, I've given everybody a packet that has the same thing I have here. We're going to do a PowerPoint presentation, but we have no screen. So this is a little bit more informal. Please, as we go along, if you have any questions, let me know. Try to come up with the answer. If I don't have the answer, bear with me. I will find the answer and get back to you. So to begin with, this proposal to do interfacility transfers came to my desk by the professional firefighters of Winslow. The full-timers here sought to get active in the facility transfer programs in this area. The goal for the program is to help the region in the crisis that is providing by providing transport services, provide best practice care to patients, and to possibly increase revenues. Benefits for this program may include, but not limited to, additional income opportunities for employees, but mainly supporting the already strained EMS system. Provided, again, additional revenue stream. There is no added cost to this program from the department. There is no cost for this. We already have the apparatus for it. The apparatus is already stocked and ready to go, so there is no added cost. It frees up, it could potentially free up beds in the hospitals right now. Most of the hospitals are at capacity and over capacity. Winslow residents can request transfers from Winslow Fire as well. The types of transfers, if you go to that next page, there's a BLS transfer, the ALS transfer, ALS2, which typically includes multiple medications. A PIFT, otherwise known as a paramedic facility transfer, and a special transfer, which is similar to a PIFT transfer, but typically has hospital staff going with you on the transfer. Below the photo, is the base rate for each transfer. So $700 for BLS, $1,000 for an ALS, $1,500 for an ALS 2, and the PIFT and special transfers are $2,500. Mileage would be billed at a rate of $20 per mile. I went below that projected annual revenue, and I went really, really conservative on this. We've been receiving phone calls every day from the hospitals in the area asking if we can transfer patients. So when I say we went conservative, I went with, if we did one BLS transfer, one ALS transfer, one ALS 2 transfer, a PIFT or a special, for 1 week, including expenses on staff, fuel, and vehicle maintenance. At the end of 1 year, you can see our yearly projected revenues of $108,908.80. The yearly projected revenue is based on receiving 34% of billing services, basically Medicare. Right now, the hospitals are full to capacity. I think by allowing us to do interfacility transports, we can support our people in the hospitals. They can free up beds that may be needed by other patients coming in. Patients that come into the ER that are critically ill or critically injured can be transferred to a facility elsewhere that can handle their care. I think our main goal is just to help the EMS system and the hospitals. If you have any questions or I can clarify anything with you, please go ahead and ask.
Transfer, can you explain what transfers, what the majority of transfer would be from where to where and?
So, sure. I would probably guess that our most common transfer is going to come from Maine General Hospital in Waterville to Augusta. We get quite a few of those patients going. They'll go to the hospital, to the ER in Waterville, and they'll need a little bit more care. And so they will transfer them by ambulance to Augusta. We've been called, just recently, we've been called to do a transfer to Nashua, New Hampshire. We weren't able to take that, obviously. But my plan is to stay in state. We on the back page, there's an MOU that was drafted by the union and tweaked it a little bit. But we want to try to stay in state. We want to go as far as north to Bangor, possibly as far as south to Portland, to Maine Med, the hospitals down there. These transfers will not affect the on-duty crews. These transfers are going to be done by people who are off-duty that are on a list, and as soon as we get the transfer call from the hospital, we tell the hospital, have you called Delta yet? If they've called Delta and there's going to be a long delay from Delta, then we will tell them, give me 15 minutes, I'll get a crew, and we'll come over. If I'm not able to get a crew, I will notify the hospital that we cannot get a crew. But from what I've heard from the guys, they're really excited to do this. We do not have to do every transfer. We're not looking to do every transfer. Like I said, my plan is if my guys answer the phone and they're trying to get a transfer, we are the last resort. If Delta's not available, then we'll take it. Any other questions? Yes?
I see you've got like BLS, ALS, ALS2, they're acronyms.
Basic life support, advanced life support, advanced life support 2, which next to it says multiple medications. PIFT is paramedic interfacility transfers, so there has to be a paramedic on that truck. They're probably running, a cardiac monitor, probably a couple of medication drips and things like that with the paramedic. We are a PIFT system in Winslow, so I'm a paramedic. Jeff is a paramedic, and we are both PIFT trained. Special will probably be typically, like I said earlier, hospital staff, a doctor, respiratory therapist, a nurse, or something along the lines of that.
Rocky?
Couple of questions. As a paramedic, you being one of the paramedics, would you be going on any of these transfers?
Oh, I don't see why not. If I'm, if a call comes in at night and I'm not at the station, sure.
All right, figured now we achieved that you'd want to stay local, that's the only concern I would have.
Yep.
Would you do psychiatric transfers too?
Well, yes, yeah. I mean, right now, we go into the ERs and the hospitals are full with psychiatric patients. A lot of them are youth. They've been in there for weeks, taking up hospital beds in the ER. There have been patients that have celebrated years in the hospitals because there's no place for them to go.
Now, what category would they be under?
It all depends. I mean, I would assume they would be BLS.
And these BLS rates, or any of these rates, is that before or after insurance?
That is to move the truck out of the station,
So
$700.
insurance, is this what insurance is going to reimburse, guaranteed?
I can't guarantee anything. Yeah. I mean, it's it's based on what Medicare's going to pay.
Okay, that's what I,
Yeah.
that's all I have.
Through the chair, we're at 10 minutes.
Yep.
I'll move that we allow more time.
Second?
So I'm looking to.
Scott?
I'm sorry.
Just a second.
They just have to do it.
Yeah. Any discussion?
Any discussion on allowing more time?
No.
Show
We'll
of
go
hands.
another 5 minutes. Go ahead. Yeah.
Will you finish, yeah?
Yeah.
Getting back to the last one with Rocky, on the amounts that are gonna be collected, even through insurance or not. You've got here 34% of billed services.
Yeah, that's currently what well,
That's
34 to 38% is what Medicare is doing.
Is that what Medicare is reimbursing?
Yes.
Well, what about the ones that don't have insurance?
If they don't have insurance, we can refuse the transfer.
Or other insurance companies that don't pay the full amount for whatever reason?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, but I can find out.
So the 34% on here is just Medicare?
Yes.
Okay, okay. The expenses, Scott, you say that there's not gonna be any added expenses?
No, there's no cost to start the program.
No
So
cost.
we have 3 ambulances sitting at our station right now. 2 of the 3 are completely stocked and ready to go. 7-3 is our new ambulance. That'll be designated strictly for 911 calls. We have 7-1, which was our first ambulance that came to Winslow. That is fully stocked and ready to go, and that would be the truck that I designate the transfer to, because it gets the best fuel mileage.
But in the 108 projected revenue, 108,000, what expenses of running that ambulance have you included in that to get to that number?
So
Do you have that, or-
sure. So expenses would be, staff would be, so the staff it'll be a 3-hour call-in at $35 per hour. Okay? So that would be expenses of staff, $840, $200 for fuel, and this is over the year. Vehicle, $100 maintenance, And that would give us a weekly revenue of $6,000, $160 for that week that we did the transfer. That answers your question. So there's a cost, so we take $1,200, okay, the $1,200, so I'm saying $1,200, that covers the overtime, that covers the fuel, and that covers maintenance on the truck. So for every transfer that we do, I'm taking $1,200 for that. So that's the expense that we're doing, paying our people, putting fuel in the truck, and then maintenance. And after that $1,200, whatever the insurance company kicks us as revenue.
Have you allocated any of the, for example, there's gonna be insurance, is there any insurance costs allocated to it when that transport ambulance is on the road?
We are
Have
insured.
you-
Erica?
Our insurance is, it doesn't matter what type of call we're performing. All of our ambulances are on our liability and P&C. So we do not have any additional cost with insurance beyond what we currently have.
Okay. I guess that's it to me.
Yeah.
I-
Do you have any questions?
Just through the chair, just one more, through the chair. So if, say you have two stocked ambulances now 100%, wouldn't you have to stock the third one, just so if the other one's out of town?
I'm planning on that, yes.
Okay.
Yes. We just have to we have to purchase the equipment for that third one.
Lee?
Question for the chair. Scott, you said you're designating L1 as that would be the transport vehicle, correct? And that's the first vehicle that
7-3 will be the 911 truck. It's
Yeah.
our brand new one.
7-1 will be?
7-1 I am designating that as the transfer truck
and
because of
that's
fuel
the
mileage.
original
That is,
ambulance
yes,
that we picked up that was used?
yes, sir.
Does that apparatus have the most mileage of the three?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as it having the most mileage, wouldn't that be susceptible to be the first vehicle to break down?
No. No, it's a diesel. Diesels don't break down.
Okay. I was just concerned about
Yep.
the possibility of any kind of breakdown when you break down locally, it's a lot different than breaking down on a
Yeah.
transport.
You can buy a brand new truck and it can break down, but I think that's a reliable truck to be doing the transfers.
Okay,
It has a really good maintenance plan.
all right, thank you.
Sure.
We're out of time, Scott.
Okay, can I make one more statement?
Yep.
So I'm looking to do this for a year, a trial. And at the end of the year, I'd like just to evaluate it. And my points that I'm looking at for evaluating the program is crew morale. And are we filling the transfers that are being requested? If crew morale comes down because they're working too much, then that is a negative for us. And also, if we're not covering 70 or 50 or 40% of the transfers that we're receiving, then I would reevaluate the program. But I am asking for a year, an opportunity to do it for a year.
Okay, we'll have to have more discussions, but I've got a couple of quick questions for you. Number one, right now, with the ambulance service as it sits, what is the ratio to accounts receivable, pays and non-pays?
I don't have that information with me.
Okay, I'm gonna want that next time.
I will get that.
Because I would assume that'll boil right down to transfers.
Sure.
Second statement I have for you, Scott, I'm pretty familiar with the transportation business. I also want to see a figure built into your business plan as to replacement of the vehicles.
Okay.
We can't go to the taxpayers as we're wearing these vehicles out for private profit and say, you pay for the equipment and we keep the money.
I
So-
don't believe we're a private profit.
There's gotta be, well, you're gonna, this ambulance service from its inception has been sold to the council as a moneymaker. That being said, don't look around the room.
Nope,
That's-
okay.
That's how it was sold to the council.
Okay.
That being said, I just want a figure that you come up with. I can give you a boilerplate figure, what the industry uses. It's anywhere from 2 to 4% of your gross revenue to replace vehicles, okay? And I don't think that's unreasonable. And as far as no cost, we'll have more discussions about that, but, go ahead.
If I may, with just one
Yep.
further clarification. And again, I wasn't here when the ambulance service was sold to the council and the public. However, it's a pretty well-known fact among the industry that no ambulance service supports itself fully, as far as saying that we are covering the cost of the service completely with our revenues. We don't, and that's part of the problem in the industry. The benefit of these revenues is that we are spending the monies right now anyway, so it offsets anything that we're needing to do with the service. So we were paying for paramedics, we were paying for our EMTs. What we didn't have before was the 2 rigs, but we still had all the medical supplies. So the major cost in the startup and in the ambulance service compared to what we didn't have before is the ambulance itself. The revenues help offset that, and I'm not lobbying at this point for or against this program, we're just investigating it. But I just want to make sure everybody understands that when we say revenues, this is return revenues that we wouldn't otherwise have, which supports the cost of running an EMS service. We are not trying to imply that this is going to be a great source of revenue for the town that's going to offset all kinds of other things, or that we can use as a slush fund or anything else. It would merely be revenue that offsets the cost of doing business.
Correct.
I just want to get these figures that are defined.
Sure, I'll get them to you.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Good. Go ahead.
How many EMTs, licensed EMTs, and EMS, and paramedics do we have? You don't have
Full-time
to
staff?
say Right now,
Are you looking for information on full-time staff?
yes. Oh, no, both staff. Full-time, part-time.
Seven paramedics total. That's full-time and per diem. There are only 2 personnel, full-time, that are not EMTs, but they start school tomorrow. They're people who we just hired. And we have 2 advanced, and then the rest of them are EMTs.
So how would this program affect what we have right now for staffing?
It's not going to affect the staffing. The staff, we're not using on-duty people, so people who are working their regular shift will not be doing transfers. I would never advocate for that. My goal is to take care of the people of Winslow, and that will not change, whether we do it or we don't do it. It will always be available for the people of Winslow. The transfer would be an added service that we can provide by people who are off-duty. So we would call we have a list, we call the list by seniority, and if they want to come in to do it, then we'll schedule the transfer. If they don't, then we will not schedule the transfer. So it has nothing to do with people who are working their regular shifts. Is that what you're looking for?
Most of it.
Okay.
Dale? You
No,
have
I'm
one
all set.
question? You're all set?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Under communications letter from the State of Maine DOT, regarding Winslow Fish Bridge. And that letter was in your packets.
I'm assuming you're addressing that also?
I didn't even know it was on there.
Paul? Who's addressing this?
I don't know
I
if they
think it
will,
was,
I think I know.
it was just on there as communication so that you all could know this there. The brief information on that project is that next year, the MDOT will be replacing that bridge. They wanted to see if we were fine with just posting the state roads as a detour. I had come back with a concern that we're also going to be having the Taconic Bridge construction starting at that same time. And I asked that they post Eames Road as well as a detour, just because I don't want people to take the long detour all the way around to the intersection at Bay Street only to find that they need to detour again or that the traffic's more backed up. So I have requested them to also add Eames Road to their postings. They just need us to approve it, which they will send out when they get their ducks in a row. They'll end up sending us a letter of agreement. But that's basically what the communications in that letter are about. So we're looking for that project to be next summer.
Through the chair, is there any way you can tell the public where Fish Bridge is? I'm sure some people
I'm
don't
not as
know.
good at that as Paul would be if he's there. Can you? I have a vague understanding and I'm bound to get it wrong. I mean, I looked at it on a map once, a long time ago.
Just so everybody's aware, which, there's a couple books on that road.
The fish bridge is the one off the Garden Road, almost to the town line.
Past the Albion Road then?
Yes,
Yeah, all right.
down in that hallway.
It's right in that S section, isn't it? Right
It's a
close to
curve,
that.
I don't know if it's an S, but it's a curve.
Yeah, curve,
It's
curve.
where the road gets closest to the river. and
Yeah.
They're gonna widen out that bridge, make it quite a bit wider than it is now, so there's a fish passage, I guess. I believe it's going to have to be 24.
I believe so.
I think so. We thought it was gonna be 23, but I think they put it to 24 or something.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. I can find the information on that, but,
I believe the construction.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
There's a couple of them, sorry.
A letter from the Maine Historic Preservation Committee regarding the Jonas B. Sturtleff House, which is located at 461 Augusta Road in Winslow. Again, that letter was in your packet.
Okay.
the concern with that issue, I'm sure some of you here are familiar with the Shirtlift House, which was the one on Augusta Road that was demolished a couple of years ago.
The gingerbread house.
Yes. It was on the National Historic Register, and therefore it never should have been demolished. I have received a letter from the Maine State Historical Preservation Society. They are holding a hearing next month. The owner and the head official of the town, i.e. me, are invited to attend the hearing. What I need to determine is whether we issued any type of permit that would have allowed that demolition, or if they did the demolition without a permit. If we issued a permit, it remains to be seen what the penalties could be on that.
And if we didn't issue a permit?
If we didn't, I would be lobbying for the town to be held harmless. As we know, not everybody pulls a permit when they do work, especially when it's deconstruction rather than construction. So I'm hoping that I won't turn anything up in our files that shows that we actually permitted the work.
Thank you.
Just for a little history on that house, Ray probably knows this because he's seen it. Shirtloff was born in 1805, died in 1863. We think either in the Mexican-American War of 1848 or whatever, or the Civil War, and he is buried at Halifax Hill Cemetery.
And there's an MMA webinar for elected officials on January 19th. If anyone chooses to participate in that, they can contact me and I can get them enrolled in that. I think there's some information in your packet. Reports, committees, and commissions, the town manager's report.
Hello, esteemed counselors, members of the public. Happy New Year. This isn't really our first meeting of the new year, because we had the one on the 3rd to swear in the council and set up our agenda for the coming year, but this is our first regular town meeting of the new year, so welcome all. December was kind of a slow month in terms of new business. With the holidays, it doesn't leave a whole lot of time in there. Usually we spend most of our time wrapping up the year and dealing with snow. Well, thankfully we've had very little snow. We did have one significant snowstorm and a significant flooding event at our typical Augusta Road, Piner Road, Bay Street location. The media has done a couple of different stories on the flooding at that location. Happily, we can report that the funding is in place to do some work that will alleviate that problem in 2023, and that would be the main infrastructure adaptation plan funding that we received through MDOT and DEP, which should allow us to start work on the Cushman Road and Robert Street in 2023. Increasing the capacity and rerouting the stormwater flow from its current path should alleviate the most common flooding issues in that area. Of course, that doesn't mean there's any guarantee we won't have further flooding on the Kennebec or Sebasticook rivers, but we're hoping that the most common flooding issues that we have will be alleviated by this project. And again, thanks to MDOT and DEP for providing funding to address these critical issues, as we've been sorely lacking now at the local level. The 30-day waiting period to implement the Public Safety Department expired on December 21st. The trial officially began on January 1st of 2023. Chief McDade is our interim public safety director during the 6-month trial period. I've been working with Chief McDade and Chief Bolduc and Lieutenant Hubert on how information flow will work between the departments. What we're hoping for and what we anticipate is greater collaboration between police and fire employees. We have interviewed all of the public safety directors in the state, and 5 of the 6 have indicated that although it can be a hard transition, the end result is a more efficient and effective public safety response structure. We will be holding the first public engagement meeting tomorrow night in this room at 6 p.m. That is an open public meeting. Anyone welcome to attend. The chiefs and I will be presiding over that meeting, give a brief presentation of where we're at right now, and open it up for questions and answers for anybody who wants to participate. The municipal facility study is on track to begin still this month. Haley Ward has submitted the first draft of their contract, and we're awaiting some minor changes after legal review, but they're very minor changes, so we should be able to get this project moving and still be on our current timeline of having it finished by spring. Holidays are a really happy time, but one very saddening thing did happen over the holidays, and that's that our town clerk, Lisa Gillum, submitted her resignation. That was effective on January 5th. I just want to say that Lisa has been incredible to work with. Her calm demeanor and professionalism have been invaluable during my tenure. She has accepted the city clerk position at the city of Hollowell. That's both closer for her to her residents, and she's going to be getting a little bit more money, so congratulations to her. Audra Fleury will be our interim town clerk. And we haven't posted the position yet, but we will be posting it in the interim. Audra will be acting as town clerk. Audra has previous experience as a certified clerk, so I'm sure that once she gets her feet under her with the meetings, she'll be just fine. So welcome, Audra. You're doing a great job. Don't get cold feet. We'll be fine. We'll get through it. Audra's also going to retain her tax collector duties at this time. I wish Lisa all the best in Hollowell. She will be sorely missed both as a coworker and a friend. One thing I would like to add to my report, every month I do ask that department heads give me at least one employee, not from each department, but at least one employee I can recognize every month. And this month it's my turn. I would like to congratulate Judy Mathau, our assessor, on 35 years as a certified assessor through the IAAO. 35 years is a long time, and Lisa, again, is another great asset to our organization, and I congratulate her on that achievement. That's all I have for everybody this year. January's a new year. I'm excited for what we've got coming. We've got a lot of progress, a lot of things in the works, and I expect to be reporting on many new accomplishments in the coming year.
Thank you.
If I might through the chair?
Yes.
Any word on the environmental study for the junior high school?
No, that's why I didn't put it in my report,
Okay.
because I feel like I'm kind of on a repetitive,
Yes, fine. That's
repetitive,
fine.
but no, we don't have any movement on that, and it's one of those things I just need to keep following up on.
Okay, that's fine.
The
Just as long
downside
as
is we
we're
don't have
following
anyone
up on
else to
it.
go to say,
That's fine, that's fine. That's all I need to know. Okay, thank you, Erica.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I had talked to Paul, I know we're gonna be doing the Now Road and Shorey Road this year, coming up, road construction. And I had asked him if it would be a good idea on the town's part to talk to the residents if they're gonna do any severe ditching on their property or cutting any large trees. Do like a preemptive talk, I think it would be helpful after seeing some of the ditching on the North Reynolds Road, so I just wanna throw that out there.
I heard the Shore Road was scrapped.
What's that?
again, we do send out letters to abutters. Making door-to-door visits to talk to individual residents it's nice and it's a great thing to do, but it is kind of above and beyond, and given that we really only have one person who can do that, it does become a bit cumbersome to be able to do that. And once we start doing that on this project, I would expect we should be doing them on all projects, and I think that might become something that we can't accomplish on a regular basis. Certainly, we can take it under advisement, but my initial response to that is above and beyond and probably not something we'll be able to do.
I'm just talking severe ditching, I'm not talking just minor, but
Understood?
that's all I have.
Thanks, Ron.
Through the chair,
Yes.
when are you looking at doing the drainage down Cushman Road to China Road out to the box culvert?
To be honest, right now, I don't have a timeline. And we're still working on the engineering plans and what we would like to do this spring. Because I've had a good set together, good project. I know they're doing surveying right now. And
So, how many projects are we gonna have in the town of Winslow? We got a new bridge being constructed at Tyconic. We're gonna have one on, down Cushman Road. And then there's the other one there that we're looking at.
Sunset Heights.
Yeah, Sunset Heights.
Sunset Heights right now, I think if we can get something off the trees probably in the fall, we'll probably be doing bridges.
So how is that gonna affect our traffic?
It's gonna be a nightmare like it's been the last couple summers when we did Benton Avenue and all the other streets. I mean, it's par for the course. I mean, we only have a very short season to get the work done and very limited amount of contractors. So that's what worries me if we don't get some of these projects out fairly early, is that even though we get them out early, we may not see them start till the fall.
So should we, town, have a meeting with DOT on these?
They really don't have anything to do with DOT. I mean,
Well,
we're getting the money from DOT, but it's our project.
it's political, but the problem is that all of a sudden, if we have traffic backups and fire and police can't get through, we're gonna be in trouble.
I don't think that's a problem. I mean, we've always managed to keep traffic moving. There's always going to be two-way traffic with flaggers. Erica?
If I might add to that through the chair.
Yes.
The major project is the Tyconic Bridge, and they are well aware of the traffic issues that are going to be, that's going to be the majority of the traffic backup. We have got preemption coming in advance of that. We know that there's gonna be issues, particularly because we've only got one-way traffic on the Taconic Bridge coming into Winslow and not out. We have been working with Mark Harlan over at MDOT to make sure that preemption's in place. We've been working with the city of Waterville. As far as the other areas, I mean, to me, that's the juggernaut, is going to be the whole Bay Street, Clinton, Benton intersection. That's gonna be the critical one when it comes to backups that might affect our emergency services. The rest of it, Cushman Road, whatever they do out there with the Fish Bridge and all of that, those are more ancillary projects that are a little further out, and I don't expect that those are going to cause, it's going to be frustrating for people is what it's going to be, but I don't see it causing an emergency services response issue. But it definitely, it's gonna be orange barrel season, which, you know, we all know in this state, as other northern states, we have a very limited time to do the work. And although it's frustrating, orange barrels are really a good thing. We need to put the right lens on it, right? Orange barrels mean progress. They mean things are getting fixed. They mean the tax dollars are actually being utilized to benefit the people that are paying them. But it does come with a little bit of heartache and angst in the meantime, but I don't see that we're going to have any issue with emergency services.
Well, it's not only emergency services, it's backing up traffic, you know, half mile.
That happens during construction season.
And like Erica said, I mean, the bridge project is far enough away from Cushman Road. And Cushman Road, we're gonna, you know, it's be done in chunks, and the work zones are gonna be short and limited. We may want to examine, you know, some night work on China Road. That's something we could look at when we start getting closer. Maybe get off of that at night or something, but the last time we did night work didn't go really good, so.
It also costs more money.
Yeah, it depends on, well, the last one we did, the contractor actually wanted to do it that way, so. But that's a discussion for later on as we go.
I don't have a problem with night work. But you'll have calls.
Last time we did night work, it wasn't terrible, except for the water main first thing when we started, but. It happens. What's that?
All set, thank you, Paul. Are there any other,
One question for Paul. Paul, you've got the Knoll Road and Shorey Road on for paving this summer.
Half of the Knoll Road.
Half of the Knoll and Shorey.
That's what I'm planning, depending what you guys.
And that's about what's gonna be the whole paving budget.
Well, we get paving in town too. I'm trying to get something done in town, probably overlay Halifax and get into the Smiley neighborhood, because those are really getting beat up too, so.
So
That's why,
maybe more than just Knoll and Shorey.
yes, that's why the country paving is not that big a list. I'm just trying to spread some of it out, because the in-town needs work too, and these people pay taxes too, so.
Yeah, okay.
That's all gonna be good when you guys decide when we get the budgets too, I mean, what you guys put out there.
any more questions for Paul? Thanks, Paul. Are there any other department heads that want to speak or give their report? Scott?
Yes, thank you. So the Winslow Fire Department's been quite busy. We've held some interviews over the last week. But previous to that, I'd like to introduce one of our newer firefighters, Mr. Eric Chamberlain. Eric came in last month and is currently assigned to C shift. He's finishing up his EMT class, so yeah, he's already proven himself in a couple of incidences that we had that involved EMS and fire. He's a great asset to our department. So thank you, Eric. That's all I have.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, the finance committee report.
We don't, they're in the packet, we post them online for anybody to view, but we generally don't deliver, that one, the financials, right?
Next is public comment.
Don't have to motion for that.
Oh, sorry.
I make a motion, we accept reports of committees and commissions.
Second.
Jerry? And then a roll call vote for that as well?
Yes.
Okay. Peter?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Courier?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
And Lou Trainer?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. Anybody from the public that wants to discuss or give their word on anything that's not on the agenda can get up and speak. There being none.
I do have some emails.
Yeah, what I'd like
They'll go
to
with
suggest
the vote.
here is we'll read those when we get to that. order.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
No, yep. And table business.
Okay, sorry. I'm just gonna make sure if there's anything here.
There isn't.
So there's no table business. Then we have old business. Ordinance number 14-2022, providing for an amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone the following lot on tax map 15, lot 12, located at 120 Augusta Road, from high-density residential to mixed use.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? There being none, we call for a vote. Motion for vote.
Who already made the motion?
Second?
Okay, I'm sorry, so Jeff was the first?
Yep. And I said.
Peter Draco?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Courier?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trainer?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Hardest part, we'll be able to take notes and call for the motions at the same time. That's the hardest part.
Keeping all these pieces of paper straight. Okay.
Take your time.
Order number 31, 2022, providing for authorizing the tax collector and/or treasurer to apply any tax payment received to the oldest unpaid tax bill with interest paid first, provided, however, there are no such payments shall be applied to any tax for which an abatement application or appeal is pending unless approved in writing by the taxpayer.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? There being none, can we make a motion?
No? Roll call.
Peter Draco?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Guerrier?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
7-0. So now we're on to new business. Order number 2-2023, providing for authorization for the town manager to enter into an agreement with Maine Department of Transportation for proposed improvements to statewide advanced traffic signal upgrades at no cost to the town of Winslow.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Through the chair, Peter?
Yes.
Erica, where exactly is it, where exactly are we talking about?
This is actually all traffic signals. The state is doing a statewide upgrade
Yep.
of all of their signals. Paul can probably speak better to this than I can, but They're already working on the ones in Waterville, is my understanding. We're gonna be on the docket afterwards.
Mhm.
So all of the traffic signals will be upgraded so that they can be monitored from a centralized location in the state rather than being managed at remote locations throughout the state at this time. Will give them greater ability to monitor where there's traffic backups, where we need to rephase signals, et cetera. And the net to the town is supposed to be zero. We're not supposed to pay for any of it. The state's supposed to be paying for it. We just have to agree that we're allowing them to do the work.
Okay. I was reading it, and, the last couple of days, and just, okay, thank you, that's all.
Question
Lee?
to the chair. Regarding this, Erica, do you happen to know if these upgrades will be completed before Taconic Bridge? Because I could see a potential of them trying to upgrade that while they're trying to divert traffic and do the construction. That could be a problem.
I don't think they'll even be started before we get underway with the Taconic Bridge. And it seems like it would be intuitive to say that they're both MDOT projects and they would be able to coordinate their own work. We know that's not always the case. I can certainly follow up on that as the time gets closer. But the traffic signal upgrades, the one thing about those is they can be done year-round, whereas the bridge work is pretty much confined to the construction months. So, certainly that's a question I can ask as to how they plan to coordinate that work so that they don't step on each other's toes.
I know potentially I could just see a problem with them not coordinating, and then if there's an emergency service and we have to hit the emergency button so that we can get through, and then get a real fall of a mess right there.
Paul?
We'll probably get a little bit better update. I think this week we have a meeting with the project managers for MDOT. So we'll get a better idea of what the scheduling is and timelines. We'll get for the meeting at the end of this week with them.
All right.
Next meeting as far as the timelines. It kind of works that way. We try to do two projects at the same time.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Eric.
Roll call?
Yes.
Peter Rappo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Jerry Kurian. Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Rappo.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
This is 7-0.
We need two votes on that, correct?
It's in order. correct?
Order.
It's in order.
Yes.
Yes.
Would it be advantageous to forego the second reading?
For me personally, it would, because they keep sending me reminders that I need to sign the agreement.
Make a motion, we forego the second reading. Second.
Discussion.
Any discussion on foregoing the second reading? There being none, roll call on it.
Can I just make sure that it was Jeff and Dale?
Yes.
Did you second it? Thank you. Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Rappo?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
And Lee Trahan? Passes 7-0. Order number 3-2023, providing for authorization for the interim fire chief to enter into an agreement with the town of Fairfield to use their fire training facility at a cost of $1,200, which allows use of the facility for 3 training sessions per month over a 12-month period.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
Discussion? I'm sorry, I was reading.
Scott, does that mean $1,200 for 3 months, 3 times per month for 12 whole months?
$1,200 gives us 3 training sessions.
Sessions per month for
For-
12 months.
So
for
you could have
we have an access.
36 sessions for $1,200.
Yes.
Okay.
$33 a session.
worth every penny in my book.
Yeah. It's a state of an art training center. There's nothing like it in this area, and it's in our back door.
Any more discussion? No? There being none?
Peter Greco.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Who's in the back?
Oh, I'm sorry. Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Traeger.
Yes.
6.
Make a motion, we forego the second reading so we can start using it sooner than later.
Second?
Discussion?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
And Lee Traeger.
Yes.
So it passes as well. Okay, order number 4-2023, providing for authorization for the town manager to approve the installation of a street light to be placed at 715 Benton Avenue at an installation cost not to exceed blank, and for a monthly fee to be determined at a cost to the town of Winslow.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Anybody from the public that would like to speak on this?
Are you gonna read these?
Yeah, she's got public comments.
You want to read those now? Andrea?
Sure. Okay, so I have 3 emails here. One from Kim. While traveling to work this morning at 6 a.m., I looked at the streetlights from Chickadee Trail all the way to Vassalboro along the River Road. There are many unlit, unsafe drives and parking lots that would fit the criteria discussed last night. I do agree there needs to be set requirements. If there is none, there will be floodgates of requests. Thank you both, Kim. Email from Fran Hudson. I want to start by giving kudos at last month's meeting to our town manager, Erica LaCroix, and Councilor Rocky Gravel. I think their points on Benton Avenue light request were on spot. At this time, voting on his request and approving it will, as Manager LaCroix stated, be setting a very bad precedent. Although this landlord has been waiting for his answer on this request, it seems the ball was dropped along the way. And all through frustrating for him. That shouldn't be the reason this council decides to just push it through tonight, especially when it's not been proven to be an urgent safety issue, as stated by our last fire chief as well as our current police chief. In the past, criteria must be met prior to approving any request, then it must be met in this case as well. This letter isn't whether this request should or shouldn't be granted, but more about how and why it should not be voted on tonight. The council refuses to heed the words of our town manager, past fire chief, and our current police chief. But going forward to vote tonight without using any criteria on a committee suggestion, and in its place make their decision based only on what they believe. If that decision is not based on what all others have had their request based on, this will make it appear to be favoritism, or certainly, at very least, not fair. And with that, as Manager LaCroix stated, she will have people banging down her doors with many questions and concerns of fairness then. What will her answers be based on? I ask that you also take into consideration all the people of this town and their input, as a couple of councilors mentioned that a committee would not need to include residents. That alone being said sheds a poor light on your thoughts of the people of this town. the very people that gave you your position. Respectfully, Fran Hudson. This email is from Ron Poulin. December's meeting discussion centered on a Benton Avenue resident landlord request for placement at town expense of a streetlight, primarily to serve his tenants and his concern of a possible nefarious activity against his property by a neighbor. It was also suggested by Appellant Bushy that Rescue had a difficult time locating his property in response to an emergency call. In actuality, that is not unusual in a rural area. I recall 3 separate instances in the past 32 years where either police or rescue stopped at my residence asking directions in response to calls on this road. One was by a Maine State Trooper for what turned out to be a fatal shooting by police of an unarmed suicidal man on the Brand Road. Another was Winslow Rescue attempting to locate an elderly neighbor's residence. Most recently, 3 years ago, Winslow Police for a domestic issue down the road. There is no historical record of a safety hazard at the Benton Avenue location due to its unlit status. There are also no sidewalks. Therefore, pedestrian traffic can be considered very light as in other rural locations. The fact it's dark in some areas of Benton Avenue is no different than literally hundreds of other rural Winslow locations. Here on Maple Ridge Road, there are no street lights, even on intersections with Brand Road nor Wine and Bog Road. To my knowledge, none of my neighbors are requesting a street light, nor am I. Many of us have yard lights at our own expense. Those of us living in rural Winslow recognize by our own choice we live in areas not as well illuminated as the village with its density, pedestrians, and vehicle traffic. We also understand there's only so much one reasonably should expect government to provide. As Town Manager LaCroix pointed out, request failed. Similar requests failed. It is our understanding that the appeal before you was reviewed and denied by her office and department heads. In fact, this request has been going on for some months, not in any way justifies council approval. Many of your decisions are often tabled or held up months for various reasons and studies. If Appellant Busher or any other past applicant wishes to pursue an appeal, they have the option of review of municipal action and an ADB appeal to Superior Court. Obviously, this
That's 3
council.
minutes.
I also have a memo from Chief Bolduc. Do you want me to read that one as well?
You can. He also added an additional email today.
I had an opportunity to evaluate the area at 715 Benton Avenue last night on my way home. As I approached the area, I noticed it was darker than the majority of Benton Avenue. What I did was pulled into the driveway and turned off my headlights. This gave me the opportunity to evaluate the area without the headlights influencing my judgment. In my opinion, a streetlight would be beneficial to the immediate area. The closest streetlights did not illuminate the area as well. I would think this be a safety issue during the nighttime hours. My concern would be public walking, running, or biking at night. The speed limit in the area is 40 miles per hour. I am thinking only on the side of safety. I did not speak to the neighbors to get their opinion due to the time of day. Respectfully, Scott Bolduc, Interim Fire Chief.
You have a follow-up email. Let me read that. I went back to research if we had any significant incidents around 715 Benton Avenue. All we found was 1 single car accident, which was during the day, and 7 medical calls. Based on what we found, I would say a light post isn't really necessary.
Okay.
That was follow-up to his original memo.
Any more discussion? Rocky?
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate my comments from the last meeting that I think that we definitely need to have criteria set forward. Nothing against you, Alan. If down the road the criteria says that his spot is definitely in need of one, then I would be the first one to vote for it. But as of right now, I just can't vote for that, not having criteria to go by.
Anybody else?
Recognize Bill.
Oh,
You should be able to just speak.
Can you hear me?
yes.
Sure. A couple of things. First of all, there does not appear to be any record of a town ordinance concerning the safety committee or any town order creating a safety committee. So it makes it very difficult at the present time to say whether or not a request to have a street light should be reviewed by a committee, because there's nothing in writing to identify its function, purpose, etc. Secondly, you do have the matter before you. The council has the authority to put in a street light wherever it determines it is needed. If your decision is going to be that it's appropriate to have a street light at 715 Benton Avenue, you need to have some type of a finding, a factual finding, defining or stating why in fact it is needed. In other words, why is there a safety issue at this point? And if you were to decide to grant a permit here tonight, an amendment to the resolution before you to the effect of, we find that a street light is needed at the property at 715 Benton Avenue because is needed because, and then you would state the reason why in fact one is needed. If on the other hand you were going to deny it, you would just be saying that we find that a street light is not needed at the property at 715 Benton Avenue because, and then go on with the rest of the motion. So, what I'm saying is two things. One, I found no evidence of the existence of the so-called safety committee, and without it, it's hard to say what its function would be and whether it would be involved in such a matter. Number two, the installation of a street light is within your authority, but if you are going to grant one, or if you're going to deny it, I think you need to state a factual finding to support the decision that you make.
Thank you, Bill. Any further discussion?
Just,
Right?
Right, go ahead.
yeah, just I think, the location, like Bill said, if you want to justify, you have to kind of state why that is. My feeling is the nature of the facility at this point in time, as far as the number of residents in the facility has increased. The hill leading up to Benton Avenue is, in my opinion, hazardous. It is a hill going up, that residence and that driveway is at the top of the hill. So it's just my opinion that those are two reasons why I would justify a street light in that position.
Thank you, Ray. Bill?
I agree with you, Ray. And if Bill wants us to have some findings of fact, all we gotta do is refer to Scott Bollett's letter of December 13th, 2022. And there's a bunch of them in there. And I would suggest, or I would recommend that letter, there's no other illumination in that area. It's darker than other spots on Benton Avenue. My concern, a concern would be the public walking, running, or biking at night. It could be a dangerous situation. The difference in use of that property, in the last year anyway, maybe 6 months, whatever it's been, is gone from a one-house residential to a one-building business to now, basically, it's a entirely residential complex almost with the apartment houses in there. That certainly has increased nighttime traffic. In Scott Baldwin's letter of December 13th, he says this is a safety issue during nighttime hours. My opinion, a street light would be beneficial to the immediate area. We have it from the fire chief. If he wants to change his mind at this late hour, I guess he can. We have it from the police chief, twice has come before us, and said he thinks a street light would be beneficial in that area for his safety reasons. So I think there's plenty of findings of facts, or findings anyway, that we can list, that I just stated, to back us up on this. You drive by there and raise road conditions and these conditions here, and it's obvious at night. These factors are all present. I'm afraid if we delay this anymore, something might happen over there. Who knows? Now, if we're concerned about getting this into a public safety committee, that can be brought before the council, and we can appoint a public safety committee who will do their due diligence and make a recommendation to the council in the future. But as far as this one goes, the 5 or 6 things that Ray and I have mentioned tonight, I'm sure all of those are going to be part of the criteria of determining whether a streetlight should go in. They're there. I don't know what else would be there for criteria. I think this location has all the major criteria that we would use in establishing criteria. So I will vote in favor of the streetlight.
If I may, through the
Also,
chair.
can I just finish one thing? The order, states somewhere, whereas the town has received a request from the owner of 715 Benton Avenue to install a streetlight at his property. The streetlight was never intended to be on his property. It's on the telephone pole that has the generator across the street.
It can't be on his property because there's no pole there, so that's
Yeah.
a minor oversight.
Just a minor thing.
Go ahead.
Chair. I just want to point out, we have, as a group, between Paul, Chief Bolduc, and Chief McDade and myself, we have been discussing the criteria because that was part of the charge you all gave us after last meeting. We have come up with 4 criteria. 1, is it an intersection? 2, is there a significant volume of pedestrian or non-vehicular traffic, such as bicycles or other non-vehicular traffic in the area? 3, are there accidents in the area that we can attribute to low light conditions? And 4, are there significant difficulty with accomplishing EMS calls in a timely fashion in the area? If we can't meet any one of those criteria, our thought process between the 4 of us was that we don't have a criteria. So that's not to say that we finalized that. I'm just saying that that's the criteria that so far the 4 of us have come up with to move forward with these types of requests. Again, not, this request is on the table right now in front of you.
Lee?
Through the chair, I have, regarding the agenda, the fact that we have empty spaces with missing numbers, I find that very difficult for us to vote on something when we don't.
You have to come up with the number. That's why it's blank.
So you're saying as a council, we need to
As a
come up
council,
with
you need to determine the
maximum
number. We
amount.
can have Paul's help in figuring out what that number's gonna be, but you all have to determine, because we don't have a bill. We don't know what the cost is. So you all need to determine how much you're willing to approve for us to put that light up.
Wouldn't that really be 2 items? Actually,
No.
should we determine what a maximum cost would be and whether or not we'd be in favor of spending that kind of money, let alone agreeing to putting a new pole up?
This is not the first time that you all have seen orders that have a blank in there for you to fill in. It's the same thing as when you do a tax abatement and determine how much you're going to abate. It's a decision for you all to make. You can set your maximum at any maximum you want, but you all need to decide what that number is.
Can we put it in at whatever it is, the cost of the town? Whatever it costs the town to put that in, will be the amount of money?
Paul can probably give us.
Paul?
Paul can give us a ballpark, more than likely.
I'd like to say my piece, if everybody else is done. As we talked about at the last meeting, and Bill substantiated, this is a order in front of the council. If we're not capable of going out there at night and making a decision, probably ought to find other things to do. I've gone by there 3 times at night. I understand what Mr. Bushy's concern is. He's got 9 units there now with the elderly in them. This is our decision to make. We have enough facts to back up our decision. Now, going forward, if we want to create an ordinance to create a safety department, which according to Bill, we don't have. So we can't put one together if we don't have an ordinance. Am I correct?
You already have them.
Bill said he couldn't find an
We
ordinance
can't
on
find
the
the,
books.
we can't find the enabling legislation that creates it. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, it means we haven't been able to put our hands on it. The safety committee itself has existed for many years and is on our list of official committees, which you all as a council do appoint. They have expired. It is listed on the list of official committees on the website. I respectfully put to you, it's not that you all cannot make the decision. The reason for having committees with residential input, with citizen input, is so that we can avoid the perception of favoritism or of impartiality. That's why we have these committees in place, not because you all are not smart enough to go out and look and see if it's dark. But dark is not in and of itself a reason to place a street light. That is the reason for asking for having the committees that recommend. You can always overrule a committee recommendation. You don't have to accept it, but it gives that input that you all can either accept or reject, and it allows the public input into these. Streetlights are only one issue that would come up. Things like, do we need additional crosswalks? Do we need speed bumps in a neighborhood? Paul, you can probably give me other instances that might appear before this committee.
The parking areas might be,
Can I finish now? The point I was going to make is this has been drug out since July. I would like to see a motion made to vote on this. Put the committee back together for any further requests. I've been here 2 years, and this is the first time I hear of a streetlight. Everybody is saying we're gonna be inundated with requests for streetlights. Jeff, you've been here for 6 years. How many times have streetlights been in front of you?
This will be this will be the actual first time.
Ray, you've been here for 12 years.
I would say the maximum would be 3, maybe in the 15 years I've been on here.
Okay. I don't think a defense for this is the public's gonna kick the door in to have streetlights put on. That's my piece. So we're beating a dead horse again.
Through the chair, Paul, I believe when we went over, we did all the streetlights in the town of Winslow, like, what was it, 3 years ago?
something like that, yeah.
Do you have an idea of the cost per installation of the streetlight and the usage? I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Usage as far as electricity, that's minimal, but we haven't bought any. I mean, we bought them at the group, but from what I've replace some, I think we're probably looking $400 for the light, and then probably an equal amount for installation, because we'll have to pay somebody to put it up. And they will do CMP, they will put it on their pole, but those are big round numbers, and it's best I can give you.
I can answer the cost of the light. They're $465 each, the
Yep.
last time we bought them. So when we purchased them, that was the cost of the unit itself. That's not the installation cost.
Yeah, but we have a contractor that goes around and checks the lights, and then if they're burnt out, which I don't think any has because of LED lights, or makes adjustments in the illumination of the lights, then that would be, and I forgot what company it was.
It's Winslow, I believe.
Okay. But I think it was all spelled out in the contract with Winslow, as installation and what everything was.
That was the whole big contract where, you know, they came and did all of them, so on the per light call out, you're probably gonna pay a service charge, you're probably gonna go
So if you're talking $460 for the light, probably another $500 for installation, I would say not to exceed $1,200 would be
Probably in the
safe.
ballpark.
Huh? That would
I'd
be
say you're
safe.
probably in the ballpark.
So I guess I would make a motion to, for the cost, would be.
Can I interrupt you for one?
Yep,
I
sure.
just have one quick question through the chair. Do we have to go through the whole CMP process?
Yes.
So they're gonna do their survey?
Well, I don't know about the survey, we did get permission to mount the pole. There's a form that you fill out for permission.
Yeah.
And traditionally, they've had to do the hookup. If there was not an existing light, I think they're not as fussy on that as long as it's already transforming.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of this one now, they're trying to do the hookup. You know, they're protecting their territory.
Oh,
It's a safety-
absolutely.
It's a safety thing as well. You know, it's-
Do they,
all certified.
does CMP bill us for that, do you know?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I did look that over, Jeff, there's a transformer at the pole that.
Yeah, there is. I just didn't know if,
If it wasn't a transformer, then it would be a totally different issue.
Correct, then we'd have to buy a kettle,
Yeah.
the cost would be triple.
So I think I think I made a motion for $1,200, not to exceed $1,200. That's a motion out there.
Second.
I need a second, and then a discussion, obviously.
Any discussion on that?
Any more discussion?
Oh, so,
Roll call on the amendment.
roll, okay. So the motion to not to exceed $1,200,
Correct.
right? Okay. So Pete Greco,
Yes.
Neil Mazza,
Yes.
Jerry Korean,
no.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Greco,
No.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
5-2.
I move we adopt the ordinance as amended.
Second?
May I speak?
Yes.
Yes, Bill?
Okay. If
Oh,
if
that's
the inclination of the council is to adopt this resolution, I would suggest you make a further amendment, and it might be along the lines of what Councilor Macklin suggested. It could be to the effect of, we find that a street light is needed at 715 Benton Avenue for the reasons stated in Chief Bolduc's letter of, and I don't have the exact date on what that letter was. But if that's your inclination, you know, if you support the reasons that were stated in that, the earlier letter, you can amend the matter before you, so you'll make a specific finding that'll incorporate what's in the letter, and that way there is a basis for anybody reviewing this to understand why you made the decision you did. And if you adopt that amendment, then you'd be ready to vote on the matter as amended, which is actually, I guess, the second amendment.
Amend ordinance to read,
Is it a resolution or an order?
I'm sorry, it's an order. Amend the order to read, we find,
Find that a street light is needed at 715 Benton Avenue, and I didn't use the word property because I understand it's going to be on a telephone pole. for the reasons stated in Chief Bolduc's letter of, and Councilor Macklin stated the date, it was December something.
December 13th.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just didn't want to say that. For the reasons stated in Chief Bolduc's letter to the council of December 13, 2022. If, and I'm just suggesting that because I heard Councilor Macklin state he felt all the reasons were there, and some other councilors have stated some things that sounded somewhat similar. Obviously, you decide what the findings are, but if that's your leanings, I'm just trying to give you some language that you might use that will show a factual basis for the decision that you will make.
Does anyone care to move that?
I'd like to add, Bill, we can add right now, our findings of fact is only incorporating Scott Bolduc's letter. We can incorporate other findings
If
in
it's your
addition,
wish,
in
yes,
addition
you
to
can.
that. Yeah. So in addition to incorporating Scott Bolduc's letter, we would incorporate that is now a residential district, whereas before it was not.
You mean property?
Property, not district.
Property or district?
Property, what was the one?
Residential facility.
Residential facilities.
Anything else?
The contour of the road. And I believe that's it.
Would you like me to read that back?
You can probably follow it.
Okay. We find that a street light is required at 715 Benton Avenue for the reasons stated in Scott Bolduc's memo of December 13th, 2023, that the location
Only
is...
22, Larry?
I'm sorry, you are correct.
22.
22. Apologize. That the location is now a residential facility and due to the limited site distance produced by the road contours.
Yes. Plus Scott. Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I might add, it was always a residential place. It's now a residential property with increased occupancy.
Residential complex.
Residential with increased occupancy. That's what I would adjust that to, because it always was residential.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Could you do that?
Yep, I got that in there.
And just, is Benton Avenue, I thought I read like a couple months ago that Benton Avenue was going to get paved on each side for biking. Is that true? Did you hear that?
I have not heard that.
You have not heard that,
no.
okay.
That was way back when that was closer to town, I think, right?
Paul, do you know anything about that? No? Okay. Never mind. Okay, nope, never mind. I'm good.
Motion to accept the
Do you want me to read it
amendment.
again?
Would you please?
Okay. We find that a street light is required at 715 Benton Avenue for the reasons stated in Scott Bolduc's memo of December 13th, 2022, that the location is now a residential facility with increased occupancy and due to the limited site distance resulting from the road contours.
Make a motion to accept that
As amended.
as amended.
Second. Discussion on the second amendment.
Discussion on the second amendment? There being none, could we get a vote, please?
Peter Drucko?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes?
Jerry Florian?
No?
Ray Carey?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel? Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
5 to 2. Okay. And then,
Now we have to vote on the motion itself, the order.
okay,
The order,
to adopt the order as
As amended.
amended
correct.
twice. The motion to not exceed $1,200. Okay.
We already accepted that.
Wait,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Peter Draco?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Courier?
No?
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
No.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
No.
4, 3. So now we just move on to discussion items about.
Can I ask something? If it costs $1,300, you gotta turn it down.
What's that
No.
Street light, I don't know how it works. If it costs $1,300, you gotta turn it down.
No, you'll pay the first 1,200. If it goes over 1,200, you'll pay the first 1,200. If you decide not to pay the 1,200,
No.
No,
no?
you can't make them
If
pay
it
for
comes
streetlight.
in
Oh,
over
oh,
the
excuse me.
$1,200, we would come back to
You would come
council
back,
and ask them
yeah.
to approve the increased
Yes.
dollar figure.
Sorry.
Okay, then-
That's generally how that works. Council approves us to spend so much money, comes in higher, we come back to council and say the actual bill is X, do you approve us moving forward?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Discussion item.
Regarding vendors and solicitors.
Okay, this is my item. It was brought to me by a resident who was concerned that we have a vendors and solicitors ordinance, which we actually do have an ordinance on the books that any vendors and solicitors must be registered with the police department prior to being able to do door-to-door solicitation. This came about because someone did come to her home, spoke to her husband. She felt that he was an easy target. She came out and asked for the permit from the police department, and she was told by the individual at the door that that's not required. So she had contacted me, wanting to know when we had stopped enforcing our ordinance. Upon review, we do have the ordinance on the books. The reason I put it on here as a discussion is we haven't had a real formal way of actually giving a permit. So what has happened, my understanding from Mike Hevener, when he was police chief and when he was town manager, is that people would come to the police department, they would be asked a few brief questions, just basically vetting what the person was out there selling or soliciting for. They would do things like take the description of their vehicle and a license plate so that we could inform the neighborhoods who would be out in the neighborhood, or if we got calls, we would know this vehicle has registered with us. But all they did was keep a list, okay? What I am proposing that we may wish to do is actually just start issuing cards that the person can carry. And maybe they're good just for a few months, or they're good for a year. I think that would probably be up to the police department as far as what they're doing. The ordinance states that the chief will be the one to approve or deny these, but Mike said that in the past, he would be the final rubber stamp on it, but he was not the one to necessarily interview those individuals. But I think for the sake of our residents, it might be a good idea for these people to have something that they can present that has the chief's signature on it that says, yes, they're allowed to be out in the neighborhood soliciting. Particularly this time of year, we're kind of getting a little bit past the time of year, but during the holidays, it tends to be a larger issue, particularly with our older population. There's a lot of scammers out there that are trying to take advantage of people. And I could tell you that I have a permit to be at your door, but there's no way to check it other than to call the police department. So if we had some kind of permit to issue, for the frequency of these calls, we could probably order 100 cards and be good for 5 years. But in my opinion, I think it would just be good to have some type of documentation for people to show that, yes, I've been through the process, I've been to the police department, I'm registered with them, and I'm allowed to be out here doing this. That's my thoughts.
Any discussion, go ahead.
Yeah, what would we need, so that's it's kind of an amendment to the order that we have now, is that correct?
Not
What do you
exactly.
think?
The ordinance is just vague. You could amend the ordinance if you wanted to solidify it further. All I'm suggesting is that in the application of the ordinance, we operationally, internally start issuing these cards, just so that we can show. Because the ordinance basically states that they will register with the police department. Failure to do so will result in a fine of $50 a day, which in reality, I don't think has ever been issued. Normally, they've just been asked to cease and desist if they haven't registered. But I think the ordinance is okay. We just need to change our internal procedures as to what we're doing to enact the ordinance, in other words.
How do solicitors know that they have to go to the police station to register? How is that communicated to the vendors or to?
If they never stop and ask, they're not gonna know until someone
Right,
challenges them on it.
that's
But
it,
we
yeah.
do occasionally get calls with people saying, there's somebody in our neighborhood driving around.
Yeah,
It's, easy for us to go and say, yes, we do have that registered, that person did come in, they're going around selling encyclopedias. Or, they're going around with a petition, something like that. That's why I think, and the chief can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that we have, and this is consistent with what Michael Hevener had told us, we haven't enforced that $50 fine, because it's been like, you may not know, but now you know, so you either need to come down and register,
Okay.
or you need to cease and desist.
I think it's a good idea. I don't have
Any solicitor, we were involved with this back in the cable days, when we opened up a new community, and we, as streets got
Yeah.
energized, we went forward with them. We always went to the police, sheriff, depending on the community, and let them know we were going to be in the neighborhood pounding
Yeah.
on doors.
Okay.
I think anybody that's reputable
Yeah.
and reasonable will do that. Lee?
To the chair, is it something that, if it's not there, can we possibly put that on the website?
We absolutely can if they register. I don't see a problem with
Well, I
doing
mean,
that.
to let the general public know that if they want to conduct any type of vendor soliciting business, in our community, that they must.
Sure, we can put
Register.
a news item up. It won't stay on the front page forever, but we do have, I think it would probably go on the police page as a permanent item, what do I need to do? Frequently asked questions, what do I need to do if I want to go door to door in the town of Winslow? And then it would be on there. We can find a way to do that.
All right, thank you.
And I think that the card is a good idea.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Seems on the code enforcement page would be a good place also to post it.
We can cross-post multiple places.
Any further discussion?
Motion to adjourn?
We have nothing in executive session.
I have one more thing. At the last meeting, we should have appointed the finance committee members, though we did not do that. Currently, it's Ray, Jerry, Lee, Peter, and Rocky is the alternate. So,
Rocky, you want to be, I'll be the alternate.
It doesn't matter. Either way, I don't care.
I don't care either.
just leave that to
I make a
the
motion
way
to
it
keep it
is.
as it was.
Second?
Discussion? No discussion? Vote?
Peter Drecker?
Yes.
Gail Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Corrigan?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
And Lee Trahan?
Yes.
7-0.
Gail has a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Pete? Jerry, you want to stay?
Already had my hand up.
Okay.